You're going to recap the first episode of, do we pronounce it Ratched? Like,
Yeah, I
not
think
like
so.
Ratchet? Ratched?
I think it's Ratched.
Ratched on Netflix. Sarah Paulson, Ryan Murphy. You're going to recap the first episode in 3, 2, 1, go.
Nurse Ratched is rolling into town. There is a home where a lot of priests are staying. They're all murdered by this crazy guy. Meanwhile, Nurse Ratched's making her way to this asylum where a man is trying to, the owner of the asylum is trying to rid society of their judgments of some of the characters in there. To no avail, really. She comes in and kind of cleans the place up. My time's up.
Okay.
Kind of manipulates everyone to get a job there, while also kind of like creating a stunt to make someone sick and make it look like she was saving them in like a stunt in front of the governor to grant more like funding.
Well, she's having a hard time getting the like proprietor of this hospital to accept her onto the staff. And so she basically like mind fucks this patient who's very unwell. Kind of like indirectly talks him into killing himself. He does in the proprietor's office. And so then like she just kind of like orchestrates, she puppet masters this whole situation where he basically has to give her a job.
And he's like clearly not like, so early in the show he's like, man, this lady's crazy, but I'm giving her a job.
Right.
And Nurse Bucket is also a character who hates her from the jump.
Too much. Hates her too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They hate each other too much.
Well, except for that it's understood that Ratched's psycho. But this other lady is just like difficult.
Can I just say that like I don't understand. I remember watching One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I don't really like get the fact that she's so crazy in this prequel.
I'm so glad to hear that you've watched it, because I haven't watched it, and
it's a great watch,
and I've never read it.
I think you'd like it.
Do you think, is it scary like this show is?
No, not at all.
That's good to hear, because like this is like played like a horror, and I didn't think Cuckoo's Nest was.
No, it's kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like, it's a good watch.
So this is what I understand about Cuckoo's Nest, just as like a person who lives in the world, and I've like been on Wikipedia today.
Sure.
Jack Nicholson goes to this facility, this like mental institution. I don't know what the PC term is.
It's like not his first rodeo. He's kind of a flamboyant, likable character.
Right. But he's unstable.
Yes.
And he goes to this hospital, which is incredibly corrupt. And this Nurse Ratched, I guess, is like maybe the figurehead of that hospital.
Yeah, maybe she is.
Like he makes her life hell, right? That's the premise of the book, is like he like kind of rises up against her.
I felt like it was more the administration, not specifically one person, but maybe it was just Nurse Ratched.
And so she's considered to be like one of the great 20th century literary villains.
Yeah.
And so they've made this prequel show about like when she was younger and when she started at the hospital. Is that this hospital?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure, because it's been probably 10 years since I watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I really liked it. But the other thing was, I don't remember that. I just don't remember her being so quite villainous. Like I don't remember her being intentionally trying to.
I think she is, though. Like that's based on what I looked around at when I read her character's bio today. Like that she is for sure like abusing people in the hospital.
Yeah,
she's like maybe
possible.
deriving some kind of like sick joy out of like lobotomizing people and shock treating people, and like basically just like has them all on leashes.
That's very possible. And I remember it was a couple of weeks ago that I read it was like Today I Learned on Reddit or something, where I guess Stanley Kubrick remembered Nurse Ratched from like, it was based on a nurse that was like at an old folks home or something that he had met, like caring for his grandma or something, some kind of story like that. And then he actually met her out in the world years later, and she was really sweet.
Yeah. Did you ever have a teacher who was like a mean teacher and then you see them in the real world and they're nice and it's very disorienting? Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Oh, that's
Or
weird.
not going nice to mean, but like being like, oh man, I love that teacher, and then having that teacher as like a sub in high school or something, and be like, this teacher's crazy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I had a teacher in grade 10 who everybody liked because he was
Right, I think we've discussed this. He's like, what's up, kids? Let's rap for a second.
no, that's another teacher.
Oh, okay.
I clearly have unresolved issues about that teacher if you just like know that I've talked about him that much. I'm so sorry I repeat myself as
No, I like the story. I was hoping you were going to go into it.
You're a charitable friend. No, this is another teacher I don't like. And in fact, for the opposite reasons. Like, he took himself too seriously.
Gotcha.
But he was kind of a firecracker in his own way. Like, he was like an old man who would say mean things to students.
Right.
And so, like, if you weren't on his bad side, which you were on his bad side by being weak and afraid of him, frankly, which I was. It wasn't like you like had to do something to get on his bad side. Basically, if you played football and you were like confident in yourself, he would like probably not isolate you, or he would, and that would just be more fodder for like classroom amusement. He was a fucking bully is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But he was like an old ass man, and he was creepy around girls.
Ah.
It was a good reputation for him being like a boozer at school. It's another example of a teacher who I kind of felt like I could see through. Like, I wasn't interested in this like character he was kind of portrayed as having.
Yeah.
He was a horrible guy. I hated him.
Right.
And he was mean to me in class. Like, he would like, I remember one time because he taught ancient history, and he was talking about like the mummification process, and I asked something to do with embalming.
Yeah.
And he made me feel like such an idiot.
That's so funny. I'm trying to picture you raising your hand to be like, can you tell me a little about the embalming
I just know it had to do with embalming, and I think because I was shy, like it was probably like me just trying to interact, just trying to be part of the discussion, and so I probably just like dropped a word that I heard on Jeopardy.
You're like, I'm going to get the class with the embalming
And I still remember he was just like, what are you talking about? Like, he would just like make you feel like such an asshole for asking a question. And so then I just like hated him forever. But he has a dog, and he goes and walks his dog at Shuby Park, where my friend Michael walks his dog. And Michael says like he runs into this teacher and he couldn't be nicer. I just find it so confusing because like maybe the power dynamic is gone at the dog park. And so he doesn't like need to be like king funny, king bastard, but like that's an example of a guy, or maybe I'm just reading it differently because people in fact did like him when I didn't like him, and maybe my friend also likes him.
Oh my god, I
had that pent up for a long time. I needed to tell somebody about that. Apparently,
I want to ask after this if it's the same teacher that I might be thinking of. Was he like very clearly like very into big guy?
No, not really.
Okay.
Old guy.
Okay.
Like old. For sure. Maybe 80 now.
No, different. And I actually like the teacher that I'm thinking of, but I could see us. We've definitely had cases of us like I really like someone, and you're like, I could give a shit about that.
Yeah,
person.
that's probably true. Yeah.
So, anyway.
I tend to be harder on people than you, though. You're more a forgiving person.
You think so?
And you know what? I don't know. I don't want you to take this the wrong way. You're a really good punching bag. Like I don't know, something about your personality. People feel really invited.
Willing to just beat the shit out of
Well,
me.
because they know that you can take it, and you're a good sport about it.
That's a kind thing to say.
That's what I'm trying to say. I want it to be a kind thing to say.
Right.
Like, clearly you have a warmth where it's like you're open to a laugh at your expense.
It might be because I'm self-deprecating in my own right.
Well, you are.
I invite it.
But that doesn't track because I'm self-deprecating and I hate when people make fun of me.
Yeah, I guess it depends.
Anyway,
depends who it is.
Which is my way of saying you would probably have liked this teacher because he would have made fun of you in class,
right,
and it would have gotten laughs, and you would have been like, well, at least people laughed.
Right.
And he made fun of me in class, and I never felt smaller.
Well, and I also find when people do that, and if they cross a line at all, especially in class, it gives you a little more license to go back at them because it's like, well, what are they going to tell the principal that they, said I was whatever, and like
he was the
entire class laughed at me, so I can't say that he's overweight.
You're right. I don't know if I wouldn't have had the spine to do that.
Right.
He was my inaugural high school experience. There was this thing at my high school where all the bells rang 6 minutes fast, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. And it's my first day of high school, and he's my A class, and I was late because the bell rang 6 minutes early, and I just walked into class. The door was shut, and he like isolated me right away, and he's like, I didn't answer the door. And so I'm like, I just can't. I've never been in trouble in my life. I'm trying to survive my first day at high school just by like, I'm lucky that I found this room.
Right.
And immediately the teacher's like, in front of everybody,
Hey, Ricky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All this to say,
Wow.
Nurse Ratched.
Wow.
We took such a left turn there.
I've missed your presence so much.
What was the point that we were trying to make before going through a therapy session about who we are as humans and why school fucked us up?
Christ. People who are nicer in real life than you knew them to be. God, I don't care.
It seemed like we were gonna have like a redeeming thing at the end. Like there was this teacher, and then we. Well, okay, that's what you got with Michael in the dog park.
Yeah,
he seems like the nicest person ever. So that's a case similar to what Stanley Kubrick said about Nurse Ratched.
Oh, okay, yes, that's right. So that's right. He was inspired to. I mean, he didn't write the book, but inspired to base the character in his film off.
Well, who wrote the book?
I forget.
Okay, I feel like it specifically said Kubrick, but...
Alexa, who wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a novel written by Ken Kesey.
Ken Kesey.
Included the novel
Yes.
in the 100 Best English Language Novels from 1923 to 2005 list.
So do you know what Ken Kesey ended up being the guy who became like a big proponent for acid and the electric Kool-Aid acid test? That was all that story. Of Ken Kesey and his kind of like followers and a little bit of the Grateful Dead and, you know,
there you go.
Wavy Gravy and the Band of Merry Hooligans or whatever.
It was the 70s.
It was the 70s.
It was a time.
Late 60s too, yeah.
Anything else you want to say about this? Corey Stoll makes an appearance as like this guy who you think she's going to hook up with, and then she wants to create this like weird role play where they're having a marital squabble.
Yeah, no. The only thing that this show makes me want to do is ban all Ryan Murphy shows from the show from now on. I could tell like halfway through watching this that it was a Ryan Murphy show.
Do you want to do that rule? Do you want to establish that right now? No more Ryan Murphy?
Can we do that?
Let's do it.
I hate Ryan Murphy shows.
It's done.
Well, we don't derive any pleasure from any of the shows.
I watched...
Or did you started watching Hollywood?
I watched Hollywood.
Okay.
It wasn't good.
No.
Well, you know what? It was ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
But it was a Brad Falchuk show. Who he like co-creates a lot of stuff with Ryan Murphy, but it's a very hands-off Ryan Murphy thing.
Yeah.
It's just kind of under his umbrella. Ryan Murphy like sat down at the keyboard for this show, Ratched.
Yeah.
And I like Sarah Paulson a lot. Ryan Murphy has contributed good shit to the world. I really liked The People versus OJ. And you know, Glee had a moment, like it or not.
Sure.
It definitely had a... But I don't need to see any more from this. And also, why isn't this just a season of American Horror Story? Which, by the way, there was an American Horror Story Asylum, and it starred Sarah Paulson. So why are we retreading this territory?
It's such a good question. They're just so willing to pay people for TV content now that he's like, I guess I could do this character that's already in existence and just write a backstory for her.
Yeah.
Which I thought was just, like, she comes in too hot. Everything happens too hot in this show. Slow it down a little bit.
And I think that he thinks that's a style. Like like Wes Anderson, for example. Like I get that it's really colorful and the costumes are cool.
Right.
But you're right. It looks and feels like a Ryan Murphy thing. Maybe it's just because of her.
Like, I feel like you don't have to show her, like, her hand of like being so insane that she's telling a mental patient to kill himself within 40 minutes of the show.
He's so invested. He intends to do 4 seasons of this, and in the fourth season, he wants to loop in Cuckoo's Nest shit.
Wow.
So like, you're right. You can slow play this. You don't need to make her a murderer in the first episode.
Right.
Walter White it. Like, start at the beginning. That's why that's a good character study.
Yeah. Yeah,
and it's also overscored. I don't know if you noticed that, but like, the whole show has music, like intense music behind it. And sometimes less is more.
Right. And there was some stuff that I actually liked, like when all the lighting turned like green, and
That was cool.
I was like, okay, that's kind of like a cool, weird vibe that they're doing, but otherwise, not into it.
Yeah, not really. It's also another show that I had to like only listen to for huge parts because it was very violent at times. When they show the dead body in the tub in the first 5 minutes, that was really gross.
Yeah, it's a gruesome scene.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely am out on Ryan Murphy and on Nurse Ratched.
You heard it here first, folks. I don't care how big a Ryan Murphy show gets. It's not happening on the show.
No, write us, smash those keys to let us know that you hate it. We don't care.
Our fan mail is going to be off the chain after we've made this sweeping declaration.
My God, we're gonna have to change servers.